Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Toon Review for tonight's Newcastle United news show. My name's Paul. We've got Stato for 20 minutes or so tonight. And then we've got, of course, Billy Bob. We've got a few things to go through tonight, but sort of open it up to you guys as well. Whatever you guys want to talk about as well, feel free to put it in the chat. And we'll get through as much of it as we can on tonight's show. But as usual, please do give the show a like if you do enjoy it. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please do subscribe. It is free to do so. And hit that bell so you never miss an upload or a live show. And of course, you can support the channel in two ways. First, by membership, which is the join button just underneath us. And of course, super chats, which is the $ under the live comments, and that will also guarantee your show your comment, I do say, to be read out live on the show. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, and good evening to all out in Viewerland.
Very strange week this, because obviously with the introduction to more internationals, with the Nations Leagues kicking off, which we will have England's commentary absolutely on this channel. So if you are keen on England and see how they do under Lee Carsley, we have three, of course, Newcastle United players in the squad, so it should be worth watching. Daniel Crespin, thank you for exactly a year's membership. Thank you very much for your support. A year watching the best team and the best commentary team. Thank you very, very much for that. What we're going to do tonight, while we've got Alex with us, is we're just going to open the show with talking about some contracts that are due to end in the summer of 2025, because there's a few. I got quite a surprise with how many are ending. Do anybody get renewed? Certainly during the course of the season, does anybody get renewed? And of course, they are free to leave or free to talk to anybody in January if new deals aren't given. So let's have a look at these the contracts. And Alex, they're up there now.
Yeah, so it's rather concerning viewing the contracts. So I mean, I think the probably the natural place to start this, and this is going to annoy a lot of people, but it has to be talked about, is the goalkeeping department. Martin Dubravka, Mark Gillespie, and John Ruddy out of contract in June 2025. That would leave us Vlachodimos, which we don't seem to be wanting to use at all anyway, and then just Nick Pope. So on paper, presumably that leaves us with one goalkeeper that we're happy to use in the Premier League. We need more than one goalkeeper that Howe is confident with, which is probably why we keep barking up the goalkeeping tree consistently. So it stands to reason that this is something we do need to fix, especially if he's not going to be happy with Dubravka anymore, really. And if Vlachodimos is not in the plans, then we are up a certain creek without a paddle or any kind of instrument or weapon to get us up it.
Yeah,
so
I mean, surely he doesn't want to go with Gillespie again. I mean, he probably will, though, won't he? He'll probably extend it again.
I mean, he's younger than I thought. He's only 32, but... yeah, we need something, whether it's competition or a younger. I don't know. We need to do something with the goalkeepers. We can't keep playing this game every year.
I mean, when you actually look at that, Billy, though, it kind of makes sense that they're looking at Trafford.
100% it does, yeah. I think they expected Dubravka to go this summer. That hasn't transpired.
Yeah,
Gillespie's obviously the social manager. Woody's coming for a bit of coaching, I think. So I think next summer there'll be a goalkeeper sign, no doubt in my mind about that. And it'd probably be James Trafford.
Yeah, well, the interest is certainly still there. Nathan says they have to give Gillespie a proper coaching role. Not a good look being a retained player.
He's good enough to be a coach, so that is the question.
I mean, he's good enough to organise things, I guess.
You don't have to be a great player to be a great coach, of course. You don't even have to be a player of any kind, but yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Shane says this summer would have wrecked our FFP. 105 million losses over 3 years. We didn't spend any money, so that leaves 2 years to spend a max of 70 million, but no time to develop resellable players. I mean, who realistically on that list? I mean, who are we looking at that could get extensions? I would think Sean. He's 26. I think if he keeps playing like he has early doors this season, I think he's well worth a shout for a squad member still. For me, Callum Wilson has to go. I know that sounds very cruel, but if we're looking forward, we complained about his injuries last season, and he's already been out injured at the start of this season. So Fabian Schär's an interesting one for me, guys. I'm intrigued as to what you two would do with Fabian Schär. I would probably give him an extension because I think he's deserved it, and he's still fit. No, he's only 32, and for a centre back, that isn't exactly very old. So, I mean, what would you two do with Schär?
You've got to look at all four centre halves together, haven't you? Because the fact that, regardless of what you say to me, Emil Kraft is now a centre half in this squad, composition wise.
Yeah.
He's being used as a centre half. So those four, that's four centre halves. Currently, are our two starting centre halves right now, Kraft and Byrne with Fabian Schär. Mm-hmm. They're all of our starters at the moment. So you're losing four starting centre halves. We can't lose all of them. We need to retain, I would say, at least two, because we can't replace four centre halves in one summer. That's not achievable. So I would suggest Fabian Schär and Dan Byrne are absolute shoo-ins for contract extensions. Mm-hmm. Lascelles will possibly be let go. I think we'll let one of Lascelles or Kraft go, possibly both. But again, that means we have to recruit two players that are going to be better than them, which costs a lot of money. So
yeah, but if Kraft does play a big part this season, I'm not saying like sort of starting every game because obviously he won't once everybody's fit. Mm-hmm. But if he plays a general amount of games, I can see him getting an extension again. I really can. Possible. Yeah, he's only 30 and he's good for a squad member.
It's very possible that all four get renewed. I think maybe Lascelles, possibly not, but
yeah,
Schär may want to go. I mean, there's talk of him going back to his boyhood club, isn't there? So,
yeah, those rumours are starting to circle, aren't they? Yeah,
no point in going there when he can't walk, let alone run.
Yeah. Laura says, I'd not be upset if I see every single one of them replaced with better bar Schär. Do you have the salary stats, says Stephen?
If we look at Capology, yes. Nobody on this screen, I don't think, is on more than 45. Callum might be on more. Sean might be on a bit more. 65, maybe tops. Yeah. They're all on that kind of money or less. Mm-hmm. So we're led to believe anyway by Capology. It could be different.
Yeah. Ray says it depends on how Schär plays this season as well. I mean, obviously we've seen him for 20 minutes, so I expect, because he's now not playing international football, that will extend. I mean, they say it extends your career by a year or two. He's 32, which is relatively, is that young Billy to quit international football, or do you think that's the right time to keep your career going at domestic level?
It's on personal choice, I guess. I mean, I don't imagine Harry Kane will retire at 32. I think he'll be going when he's 48. But yeah, it's up to it's all on personal choice for me. Fabian Schär looked as good as ever playing for Switzerland in the summer, and I imagine he could have played another 2-3 seasons had he wanted to.
Yeah,
but he's given the new manager, or the manager of Switzerland, the chance to play other players, isn't he? Maybe he feels that he wouldn't be picked as a first choice in a year or two's time. Maybe he knows he's on his slight way down. I don't know. We don't know.
Dan Byrne's an interesting one, fellas, because I mean, for me, I think Dan Byrne does get an extension. I wouldn't. I mean, I've criticised Dan Byrne for left back many times last season. However, centre back wise, I think he's solid and he's a very good member to have in the squad. He's good, apparently very good in the dressing room as well. You need kind of those characters every year to go through the trenches with you, and Dan Byrne's certainly one of those that would do that. So for me, Dan Byrne is a key member of the squad right now. So I think he gets an extension, guys.
Definitely. Yeah, without doubt. He'll get a year or two extension, I imagine.
Yeah, Dan Byrne and Sean Longstaff are in the same kind of boat, although different in age profile. They're both good enough to be in the squad. They understand the manager, the system, the region. Yeah. It just makes sense. As long as they don't get upset that they're not starting all the time, there's no problems. We just keep them. No issue. There is one, by the way, obviously we'll talk about Callum Wilson. There is one asterisk I have to put over this. There is a quite a large well, there's a few stories going around that Kieran Trippier's contract is actually expiring in 2025 as well, and that the online. So I've actually got 2026 up here. So these are people's contracts expiring in 2026. It does have Kieran Trippier on here. However, there's a lot of reports that his contract isn't 2026. It's actually 2025, the end of this season. I don't know whether that's true or not, but there's a lot of reports about that. So,
well, listen, there's still a chance that Kieran Trippier leaves during this a couple of windows that are still open around the. He's been linked with Turkey, linked with Saudi. There's still a potential for Kieran Trippier to leave early this season. It's a strange one with Kieran Trippier because there's so many rumours going around with him, Billy. We don't know where he is personally. And footballing wise, obviously Livramento, I think, is now definitely the number one starter at right back. We've seen that early doors this season.
Yeah, man, I don't think we can offer the amount of first team football that Kieran Trippier requires at this stage of his career.
Yeah.
However, I don't think he thinks the trip to Turkey to play for a promoted side is really the answer. I think he wants something bigger than that. I think he'll want European football, if I'm perfectly honest.
There is a couple of the big boys interested in him as well, though, in Turkey.
If Galatasaray or Fenerbahce, someone like that came in from, I think he'd go. No doubt about that.
You think he would go?
There is another one, by the way, another player that's not on this list. So Wacky Angler, I think, is incorrect. Jamal Lewis expires in 2025. I don't think he does.
It does, Alex.
I don't think he does because his loan to Sao Paulo has an option to buy in it. Why would there be an option?
Well, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, unless it's an option to buy during the season. I don't know how it works.
I think it's just an option to buy at the end. But obviously, the Brazilian window,
good point, actually. Yeah,
season does run different, but that kind of makes it a bit. Yeah, there's question marks over quite a lot of transfers. To be fair, well, contracts. There's been a lot that's come out in the last few weeks that's kind of thrown all of this data on websites out the window in regards to Trippier and Jamal Lewis. A lot of people are kind of confused. So me equally, but 2026 wise as well, we have to kind of look at that because Anthony Gordon's on there and that contract needs extending. I think it will get extended, but I reckon they're going to put some kind of fat release clause in it the same way they did with Bruno.
It's absolutely astounding that Isaac Hayden is still on there. That is a ridiculous contract we give him. Absolutely ridiculous.
Well, he's going to go to
29.
I know. Yeah. I mean, look, he served his time at Newcastle. I've got no problems with Isaac Hayden. I think he did very well for us. Very professional. But dear God, I mean, we're not going to get much money for him. And let's be honest, there hasn't been a rigmarole of clubs coming in for him during the summer. I mean, he was linked with a couple of loan deals, but they never came to fruition. So, I mean, who's he training with for a start?
It's a shame for us. Well, he should be training with us. He's one of our players.
Well, I mean, look, Isaac Hayden's been nothing but a professional since he's been at the club. You know, there was rumblings of him being homesick and things like that. He went on to sign a new deal. He's never, ever twisted behind the scenes. He's never caused any problems. He's been the ultimate professional. So I'd love something to be sorted out for Isaac Hayden because he deserves to be playing football.
I agree.
So it's a terrible situation for him at the minute. But I agree. I think Anthony Gordon has to. He has to. And I can see Miggy staying until 2026 because it just nobody wants to buy him for what Newcastle want for him.
And if they do, he doesn't want to go there. The one that's interesting is Matt Target. There's nobody buying Matt Target for 10 million euros while he's earning £100,000 a week. Absolutely no chance whatsoever.
Well, the main thing that we could do with is Garan Qual having a good season somewhere so we can actually sell him for some form of fee. Because at the moment, it's just not worked.
Well, he's injured at the minute, isn't he? So I think, I think he's injured. That's what I'm led to believe he's injured. But I guess we'll have to see on him. Nathan, I don't know whether this comment is a trying to get my backup or what. I like the look of Wout Feces from Leicester as a squad player. Anyone? You can shave my arse with a very, very rusty razor.
He's not
so there's your answer.
But I still wouldn't want him in the black.
He was at fault for one of the Villa goals on Saturday.
Oh, he's terrible.
He's awful.
Niall says, don't waste any money on Trafford. We need a world-class number one if we want to get elite. And Trafford ain't it.
No, he isn't now, but he may well be.
But again, the fact that Nick Pope's contract expires in 2026 means at the end of this season, we lose. Who do we lose? Dubravka, Gillespie, Ruddy.
Yeah.
Lacademos is just kind of floating as a PSR stunt. And then all we have left is Nick Pope with 1 year left on his contract. So we can't get to the end of the window and have a disaster window because we will just have no goalkeeper. We absolutely have to get that right. Because as much as people are whinging about goalkeepers, you need a good goalkeeper if you're going to be a European level club. You absolutely have to. Like, as much as we don't like Emi Martinez, he's one of the reasons why Villa are doing what they're doing. And a lot of the European level clubs, you have to have a really solid goalkeeper who enables your style of play as well. Funny that we needed a sweeper keeper. Fine, Nick Pope's not fantastic with his feet, but we were able to build up because we had Botman, Cher, Bruno, and Trippier. We had lots of technicians who could build out from the back to compensate from Nick Pope's lack of any feet. But he was doing the sweeper keeper stuff because we had a high line and we were pressing. It really suited our style. So we have to get the next goalkeeper spot on.
I mean, you look at Miggy in 2026, he's got a market value of 20 million. I mean, who the hell on earth is going to pay 20 million pounds for Miggy Amron? I mean, it's not going to happen.
Blackpool.
What is it? Well, it's 20 million.
Yeah, Blackpool, mate. Yeah.
What's that? 15, 16 million euros.
Yeah.
Sorry, 15, 16 million pounds ish.
Connor Mattia, member for 8 months. Thank you, Connor. Was in the barracks Sunday, flew over from Dublin. Met Darren Eales and Paul Mitchell, ran through the barracks like Usain Bolt to the lifts. Best show. Thanks, Connor. You need old players. Look at Chelsea.
We've got lots of them.
Yeah.
They've got old, young, ancient, yet to be born players, everything at Chelsea. So,
I mean, it's ridiculous at Chelsea. I mean, I think it's just it's a continuation of a shit show.
I mean, just out of curiosity, I haven't looked at 2027. It's probably not needed. It is quite far away in the future, but I am curious. 2027 is only 3 players at the moment: Botman, Willock, Murphy. God, Murphy had a long contract. I don't even think that was given by the new owners. That contract for Murphy was given by Mike Ashley, I'm pretty sure. So that he was on a long contract. And Sven and Joe as well.
Well, look, quite frankly, Willock and Botman, I think they will be at the club a long time. Murphy, I don't know.
I think age against him. Yeah.
Yeah, 29. Yeah. He's 29 now, so
he'll stay out his contract likely and then go. Yeah. Well, unless we want to get a transfer fee for him, but
I think Willock's the one that may go. I think.
Yeah.
Move back down south again.
Yeah. By the way, I've just put a poll up, guys. Just a random question is, I want to know where you guys stand on a new stadium. So basically, there's a poll saying new stadium or State St James's Park. What would you prefer? That poll is up and running now. So we'll take a look at that a bit later on. Stephen says, I suppose there's nothing stopping us keeping them all and then try to sell for a profit. It's trying to sell for a profit that's going to be the difficult thing. I mean, where are we going to get a profit on realistically?
I'll tell you where, and you're both going to hate it. You're all going to hate it. And in the chat, you're all going to hate me for saying this.
You're going to say Bruno, aren't you?
Sanusi.
Oh, you bitch.
That's where the money comes from.
I saw 1 or 2 last night in the under-21s that they look really, really good. 1 or 2 of them. Really, really good.
I think we've got a very good side this year in the youngsters. And
I mean, Ellie Stanton, usually, whenever we've seen him, he's coming as like a substitute centre-half.
Yeah.
Playing in midfield last night was outstanding. And Anthony Munda, good grief. He's a star.
I'm shocked by Munda because he played against Hull and he was awful. He was awful against Hull. And now he looks like a completely different player. But when you're that age, as soon as you get dropped in the ocean, you just have to swim. And he looks like he's kind of learning by doing. So
he's got everything. Box to box,
by the way, guys, by the way.
I will have to dip as well, guys.
Yeah,
so
that's no problem. Thanks,
see you
Alex.
tomorrow.
Take care, mate.
Cheers, that's it.
So Alex was only with us for 20 minutes tonight because he has a family get together, I think, or something. He's going to see family tonight. So
yeah.
King Hoddle's in the chat, Billy. And let's just say that this is going to rile a lot of people. Newcastle United are wanted for a robbery that occurred on Sunday in full view of thousands of people. Please call the Crime Watchers number pinned in the description if you're a witness to the scene. Well, King Hoddle, I know you've sort of been a long time on this channel, and then we welcome all people from all clubs, as long as the conversation is kept to an adult level. But that, listen, your team couldn't finish the breakfast, right? So you've only got yourselves to blame. Newcastle did what they had to do. Didn't play very. I mean, how does it feel like, King Huddle, knowing that Newcastle was so underperforming, yet they still beat you? That's what you need to worry about. Not that it was a robbery. It was the fact that we were not at our best by a long shot and still won the game. That would be a bigger worry to me, King Hoddle, than it would be saying, "Oh, it's a robbery." You need to look at yourselves because you couldn't finish. Let's be fair.
A foot sauce Milky Way. He's right though. He's right. They won every battle and lost the war. That's Spurs all over, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, exactly. I mean, it was seen it before.
Softies.
Yeah, and you have to look in the mirror at yourselves. We'll take the 3 points. Absolutely, we will. We didn't play well, but at the end of the day, we won the game. Now, what I do want to discuss as well. Hang on a minute. Paul, you missed my message the other night. YouTube Jerry Lewis typewriter scene. It's from a funny movie. Prob's the reason it was copyrighted. All right. Well, that's fair. Fair enough. It's all been edited out anyway. Kieran Trippier is an interesting one, Billy, because there is a lot of interest seemingly still kicking around for those countries that do have a transfer window still open.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure where I said it earlier, I'm not sure where Kieran Trippier is in his own headspace. He's now lost his position to Tino Livramento. Now, Trippier's 33. I mean, look, Eddie's put it across numerous times that he wants Kieran to stay. And I think a lot of us would like him to stay because he's been tremendous for us. And to have him still within the squad is a huge bonus. But if you're Kieran Trippier, footballing wise,
yeah,
where is your head at?
He wants to play. He's 32, 33 years of age. He needs to be playing football. There's no point in him sitting on the bench at such a late part of his career. He'll want football no matter where it is.
Yeah.
I'm reluctant. He'd be reluctant, I think, to go to a club that hasn't got European football, though. Mm-hmm. I think he thinks he can still play European football. I think he can as well. It's no coincidence. Bayern Munich were interested in in January. Yeah. It's one of the elite teams in Europe. So I think he thinks he can play European football. I think he can. If he wants to stay, if nothing comes about, then we've got another play with us. That's going to be a massive benefit for us. But he wants football. He wants football, doesn't he?
But you've got to worry that if Kieran Trippier goes and then Livramento gets injured, I mean, we've got Emil Kraft obviously there, but he's jumping around between positions at the minute. So it's a tough one to call, that, isn't it?
That's why the transfer window was so shockingly awful, wasn't it? And we didn't get any cover for any of these positions.
I think right back something we didn't really look at, Billy. If we're honest, did we? We were looking at centre back and right wing, and we've never looked around the other positions and thought, hang on, we're not really. I mean, it wasn't long ago that we had about 6 right backs.
Well, if we bought right side of centre back, then would have had Kraft as a right back number 2, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
and it would have been too serious. But at this precise moment in time, with Cher suspended, Kraft is the only right-footed centre back. Although obviously Cher's back now. But if he gets injured, we're struggling.
Yeah. Ruffy Benisian says Jamal Lewis's option to buy is a special clause in his contract. It finishes June 2025, but the option to buy is Sao Paulo have the first call when he becomes free agent, according to reports. Well, that makes sense, because their season obviously finishes, I think, a lot earlier because their seasons are weird. So I can understand that. Matt Targett is an interesting one. What on earth is going to happen with him, says Nathan. No, well, that's like you said, Billy. Nobody's going to touch him on that kind of wage.
No.
The thing is about Targett. If he wants to play football, Newcastle say surplus to requirements in Newcastle, then if he wants to play football, he will have to take a wage cut. There's no way this team's going to pay 100 grand for him.
100%. Yeah. Will he want to do that? Probably not. Probably happier sitting his ass on the bench in Newcastle, picking his 100k a week up. That's sad, isn't it? But
very sad. Yeah.
I get the feeling that Targett is in that boat. If I'm perfectly honest, one of those players to do that.
Yeah. Paul says Sam did a good job last night. Yeah, I've seen a few comments come in. Yeah, she did a great job hosting the Lasses show. That's going to be every week, and of course, Aaron now on board with her to do that show every week. There was some terrible comments came in after the show last night from somebody called Looney Toon. I don't think it's the Looney who is a member of this channel, because it was a Looney Toon, some numbers next to it. Now I know that Looney Toon on here doesn't have those numbers next to it, and saying some awful things about Sam and Aaron and women's football. So they've been removed from the channel. So if anybody saw them, I apologise, but they were swiftly removed.
I wonder if it was Chris O'Neill under a different name.
Well, it could be, yeah. Yeah. Remember him. He had a problem, didn't he? He had a major problem. Matt Hayes, member for 14 months. Thank you for your superb support, Matt. Wilson and Willock should have that injured icon added to their names by deed poll. Not a bad idea. Gary Clark, thank you for your super chat. Brucey to Liverpool, how the mighty have fallen. We'll come on to that. Nick Thornton, thank you for your super chat.
Liverpool.
Did I say Liverpool?
Yeah, maybe it says it in the super chat.
No, it says Brucey to Blackpool. It was my fault. I don't know why I said Liverpool.
For a split second now, I've got rather. Well, I'm not going to say what I got, but there you go.
Yeah. Nick says, evening, lads. Did you see that Simon Jordan is calling Eddie a bloody fool for only having one target at centre half? Well, we've said the same, to be honest. I think, listen, we don't know the truth. And that's the bottom line. We don't know what's happened or what's going on at Newcastle or who said what or who wants what. What we've said is if that rumour is true that Eddie just wanted Gay or nobody at all, then I think that is foolish. But we're not privy to it. We don't know that Eddie just said that. I still don't believe that for a second. I think we did have other targets, but obviously they still had a chance of signing Gay on the morning of deadline day, and it didn't happen. Ray Fagan, thank you for your super chat. Gary Hannant, a member for 29 months. Thank you for your support, Gary. Good evening, people and YouTubers. Can the new people who is watching please click the like and subscribe and share with respect to the family with the thumbs up? Thank you very much indeed, Gary. Now, of course, the under-21s, Billy, they won last night against Bradford City. Now, listen, whatever you think of Bradford City, they are an EFL side. Yep. And our under-23s turned them over on penalties at the end of the day. And some very good performances in there, Bill.
There was indeed. I turned off as soon as they went 2-1 down, strangely enough, thinking they weren't going to come back from it because it was a bit one-way trafficky. But there was some really good performances in there. Eddie Stanton was very good. Cathal Heffernan was good. The keeper had a good game too. But Anthony Monday was a star. Of the show for me, and Ben Parks with a cracking goal also.
Yeah, it
really
was.
Good headed goal, awesome goal, great build up too from it. So there was some promising signs in that under-21 side, I've got to say.
And over the last 2 years, I think, Billy, in transfer windows, that they have looked at bringing some youngsters in, some very good youngsters, and maybe it's just took a little bit of time to get going. But we do have some good players coming through.
We do, and that wasn't a full strength in the 21 side because, of course, Sanusi and Shahar are with the England under-18. So
they are, yeah.
We wasn't anywhere near full strength. With those two, I think we'd have won the game in normal time. I mean, there was obviously there's a physical mismatch between a fully grown adult side and the 21 side, but the football we played was really good, really good.
And Acid says, I finally got the Toon review on HD instead of 7. I suppose that's 720. I can even see people's little profile pics. Well, there you go. It does make a big, big difference. Nathan says, how much would we get for Trippier? Do we get any fee at all, or are we looking at no more than 10 mil?
Yeah, no more than 10 mil, definitely.
I can't see more than 10 mil. I can't.
No.
What happened to Sanusi? Says Adnan, he needs to play.
He's with England.
Yeah, he's with the England setup over the break. Now, Billy, PSR. Now, listen, I can understand Everton being very unhappy about the situation with PSR because Leicester City have been cleared, and of course it was our good friend Nick DeMarco who managed to sort them out. They're going to get no points deduction at all. But then, while I was feeling sorry for Everton, I did read that their PSR fine was reduced quite significantly by a few million. So I don't think they'll be bothered about the money, though, Billy. I think it was more the points deduction.
Everton?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think they've been overdone with it already. They've been penalised twice or three times for the same crime, in my opinion. I think once you've been done with it, I think that should be the end of it. Not roll it over. Because it's impossible to get out of that vicious circle, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think Leicester have got away with it because they've changed between the Premier League and Championship.
Yeah.
The EFL think they should suffer for it. They should be punished for it. So do the Premier League, but neither can do it because the previous season they were in the other league. So they've got away with murder there. But it's strange how the Premier League are kind of, they're concerned about Leicester and that. Can't they be concerned about clubs selling hotels themselves? Can't they be concerned about clubs having massively over the top COVID allowances? That's what I'd be concerned with if I was them. Penalise them that never get penalised.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point. There is some replies to King Hoddle. ADB says, haha, possession doesn't win games. Why King Hoddle? Spurs are wanted for aiding and abetting, says Adam. Gareth says we were shite and still won.
I have to say, if Solanke had been fit, I think they win that game, but he weren't, so they didn't.
Ben says, watched your interview, Paul, outside St James's. It was brilliant. Thank you very much. Good. I've got a lot of time for Northeast updates, and they're great. So I had a lot of time for them. Steve Bruce, Billy. I mean, listen. Nobody ever seems to grasp, apart from the clubs that he has been manager of, how bad this man is. Right? Blackpool, for some ungodly reason, right, are treating this signing like it's the return of a Messiah. Like God has come down from heaven and is going to suddenly make Blackpool, a Premier League team again. Where and how do they think this is going to happen, Billy? Because it's made me. I mean, I laughed out loud lots of times yesterday when I was scrolling through X and I was seeing all the Steve Bruce photos and Blackpool treating him like he's some sort of god. This man for me is a complete and utter fraud. Right? He's a fraud of a manager. Yes, he's done a couple of things, fine. But his overall record is god-awful. It is terrible. He is a terrible, terrible manager. Yet, these things coming out of Blackpool Football Club, Billy, are nothing short of incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? League One side, would he get him out of that? Probably. Which way? Probably downwards, I would say.
Which way is more to the point, Billy?
Maybe it's his level. Maybe he'll be okay there. I wouldn't want to watch his football every day of the week there. We've already been through that. It's awful. And if he goes walking on Blackpool Promenade, I'd be wary of Greenpeace trying to pull him back in the water.
Yeah.
Perfectly honest. Poor manager. He's not just a poor manager. He's a horrific person. He blames everyone but himself.
Yeah. And I read that a few times yesterday about comments coming in saying, "Oh, just you wait. He doesn't accept any of the blame. He doesn't accept that. He will pass the blame on to literally everybody, to the grass, to the goalposts, to the sky, to the sunshine. He'll blame it on the sand and the sea next. You're guaranteed. How's the Candy Rock, did you say, says Stephen? Garant says, well, he did offer his services to the Saudi League and nobody wanted him. Bruce is back, man. What were they thinking, says Adnan. Blackpool will be relegation contenders with Bruce as manager. Kieran, thank you for your super chat. Steve, super chat. Steve Bruce suits Man United.
I did notice that he's not taking over till the next game that Blackpool will have, which is kind of 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
That's Steve Bruce all over. Even if you hadn't been employed by him, it'll be 2 weeks off when it's international break.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. And that is obviously speaking from experience because he did that with us, didn't he?
Of course he is.
Yeah. Ball Jordy says Bruce has realised there's a £1 burger takeaway bar in the back streets of Blackpool, but there's lots of kebab brothels too. Yeah, there is a £1 burger.
There is, yeah.
I think there's a channel I watch on YouTube called the McMaster, and he goes around. He travels a lot. And he's like a travel vlog thing, but he's visited that place a few times. Lewis Miley fan, thank you for your super chat. 2030 South Shields proudly announce our new coach. Oh dear. Gary Clark, another super chat. Bruce is worse for Blackpool than Wheeler Utah. Who's Wheeler Utah?
I have no idea.
Okay. Yvonne says Bruce on a 2-year deal in which he'll have them demoted and run away with another big wedge back to Portugal.
He won't get a big wedge from Blackpool, I wouldn't have thought.
Well, I mean, it depends what wages he's on. I mean, if the cut short is, if they realise after 3 or 4 months, oh my God, this appointment is beyond shocking, which we know it will be, he's going to run away with a compensation package again, because that's how he's made his money. The majority of his money's been made of severance fees. There's no
yeah, of course it has. But I just don't see League One clubs paying massive severance fees. I don't think he'll get a massive contract. If he is, he won't be on much money a week. Certainly, whatever he's on more than what he should be on.
At least the players will get lie-ins and day-offs, says Joe.
No
doubt. Yeah. Blackpool, black pudding, black bacon. Gary says, with NUFC first team having a new stadium that lets the under-21s keep St James's Park to gain money for football and live events, then we have money coming in to help towards the future. Gary, I think if we get a new stadium at St James's Park, will be sold. It will be demolished.
I don't think they'll give it to the women's team.
Well, Sam and Aaron mentioned this last night, but it's with no disrespect. I mean, listen, if the women make the Super League, absolutely, because I know that Arsenal and Villa, they've all announced that they're going to be playing at the big stadiums now. I think Man City will follow suit, although they've got basically a whole setup there, haven't they? Next to the Etihad.
Can we sell St James Park? I don't think we own it, do we?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, Billy. So either way, it would probably be demolished and become a shopping centre or something.
I think it's owned by the council.
Maybe. Gary Clark, thank you for another super chat. Pro wrestler for AEW in Blackpool Combat Club. Terrible at everything. Yeah. Basil Brush says, Steve Bruce, the only manager to negotiate his early release price in his contract.
Yeah.
Do you think, actually, we laugh, but I reckon that's true. You'll go in there and say, look, very doubtful, but if I do fail, I want this added into my contract for a severance pay. He's got the balls to do that. And that's just the type of man he is. Raymond says, Bruce is like a snot. You keep rolling and can't flick off your finger. Mr. Nin says, Bruce is a dinosaur. He retired before Wenger, changed everything, and he never bothered learning. He doesn't, though, because he thinks his way is the only way, and he thinks his way is the way.
He was the bright young thing once, wasn't he, about 25 years ago? The bright young thing. And then it wasn't long before he was a dinosaur, to be fair.
William says, I'm 82, and I've been a Newcastle fan all my life, and I wouldn't even put Steve Bruce on Sunderland.
He was there, wasn't he, already? They've seen him. They know how bad he is, so even they wouldn't take him on.
Carl says, that explains why Tesco in Blackpool has sold out of cabbages. I mean, how do you think that? Do you think the Blackpool fans, Billy, are looking at this and thinking, are they being misled by their, social media and all that kind of stuff, and the management saying, this guy's coming in as an incredible asset to the football club. He's such a huge name, Steve Bruce, and little old Blackpool have got him. Is that how they see him, or do you think the Blackpool fans will be? Because I haven't seen many Blackpool fans replying to all this on social media, so I just don't know how they'll be feeling.
They're not stupid, surely to God. Although West Bromwich Albion fans, they kind of enjoyed it when he was out first till they saw him. I think you have to experience it first. But surely you'd take everyone else's kind of point of view first, wouldn't you? Villa fans, Southampton, Sunderland fans, Newcastle fans.
Yeah.
Everyone that he's managed that, been awful at. Except for Birmingham City. Did pretty well for them.
He did. Glenn says, I just Googled the Wheeler Yuta as an American wrestler. Okay, well, that makes sense now. Ray says, I can't imagine St. James's Park anymore. I mean, look, we've discussed this multiple times, Billy, about staying at St. James's Park or leaving. For me, as an old school Newcastle fan, you know, that ground has memories everywhere. For a lot of people, you know, for me, going in there with my granddad and my dad as a very young kid and growing up watching football at St. James's, I realize as well, on the flip side of that, the time has to move on and things do need to change if you want to, you know, step up to that next level, so to speak. You know, we've seen already some big teams doing it. You know, it's a tough one. It really does tire at the heartstrings, doesn't it?
The unfortunate thing is we need a bigger ground. And if we can't extend St. James's Park feasibly to a at least 65k, 70k stadium, then we're going to have to move. That's just as pure economics of it all, really. When you've got that much demand for tickets and not enough to supply them with, you have to move, don't you? And
I think that's the problem, isn't it? Because there's not enough room to sort of build that ground out like certain clubs can, you know. But if like you say, if we want that super stadium, then it's not going to be where it is now.
No, I wouldn't have thought so, unless they put it in Leazes Park. I mean, it could be near it.
Yeah. But I mean, Leazes Park, that's going to get a lot of throwback from people, isn't it?
Of course it is.
You know, I think wherever they try and build it, it's going to get throwback from
somebody. There's somebody somewhere going to complain about it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's somebody somewhere will, you know, tie themselves to the diggers and all the stuff. You know, we'll see it. We'll see it everywhere. Mason says Bruce will get Gallant as his assistant.
I mean, even Gallant ain't had to have to take that job on.
I heard Paul Gallant sing today, Billy.
He's horrific, isn't he?
I mean, look, Paul, if you're watching, mate, right? Bit of advice: get a vocalist if you want to do something,
and a guitarist.
Get somebody. Well, mainly, I mean, if you want, you're saying you're going to bring albums out. Now, to bring albums out, Paul, you have to have a record label who will help you with that. Please, you can't sing, okay?
Or play guitar.
There's a lot of people out there who can sing and a lot of people who can't. But I think you're a bit tone deaf, mate. If you think you're going to get a record deal, listen, your songwriting, fair enough. If you're writing songs, that's great. But get a vocalist to sing.
I'd get a songwriter as well, though, just in case. Because you're never going to get that either.
It's just not going to happen, Paul. And look, I'm being honest here. You know, you get a lot of trolls commenting on it saying, but I'm doing this as somebody who's watched you. And, you know, there is other things you can do, man. But singing's not one of them.
Or playing a guitar, or writing songs.
Thank you, Billy. But listen, you've got other stuff that you're quite clued up on, which I think you should stick to rather than,
horses.
Horses, indeed. Listen, well done for trying. I will never ever have a go at anybody for trying something new and trying something different. But you said on your videos you want honesty from people that watch you, and not the trolls. This isn't a troll. This is somebody who watched and is giving you some advice. But I've tried to give you advice before, and you've just sort of laughed it off the park. But that's up to you. But trust me, mate. I think a lot of people who do YouTube, Billy, are in this sort of crazy world that you get to 1,000 subscribers and suddenly your life changes. You start. People have this thing that you get to 1,000 subscribers, you get monetized, and suddenly you become a millionaire. And it's absolutely bizarre the way some people think about it. Yes, it's hard work, and you've got to work at it to achieve something and get going. It's not easy, but I think the mindset of getting to 1,000 and then suddenly your life changes. I think, but you can give advice to people till you're blue in the face, but if they don't want to listen to it, then they won't, will they? I mean, it's just one of those things.
I don't think he understands it, to be honest. I don't think he understands the whole lot of it.
Yeah.
Anything really. I don't think he understands anything.
But it's not just that though. I mean, there's a lot of people who do YouTube who maybe don't look at the videos of how to achieve things. You look at things like thumbnails. As basic as that sounds, if you don't do a good thumbnail, it doesn't get people attention to click on the video. And I learned that at a very, very early stage of doing this channel, that if you don't have a thumbnail, people just scroll past it. It doesn't catch the attention until you get a certain amount of subscribers, and then obviously people will have notifications that you're doing new videos and stuff. So it's just advice to anybody doing YouTube, really, because it's so difficult that you have to have a niche, and if you're going to have a channel. And this is advice to anybody, really. If you're going to have a YouTube channel, have a niche. Don't do 6 or 7 different things on the same channel. If you're going to do a football channel, do a football channel. If you're going to do a music channel, go and do a music channel. But when you try and bring them all together, you're not going to get that amount of people that click on, because, they're not sure what they're going to get. So if you're going to get, you're thinking you're clicking on a football, and then it's music or it's something else, they're going to click off it again, and it doesn't work like that. So a lot of people have asked me and sent me emails of how to get started and things like that. And listen, I will help anybody, and Billy knows that, because I've helped a lot of people in the past start YouTube channels and things like that. And what I don't like is if you give somebody a lot of your time to do things and try and help them, and then they totally ignore what you've said. If you get some sort of relative success on YouTube, I think that gives you a sort of, if somebody's new to it, then, take that on, take that advice on board. When I first started, Brian, the true Geordie, helped me. He used to get me to send my videos to him first, so he could see how I came across and things like that. And he used to, send a message back saying, yeah, that's great. Or this is what I would do. And this is what I would do to change it. Maybe change the persona on camera a little bit. And he was brilliant with me. And I'll always be thankful to him for what he did for me. And that's why, even though he's been through shit in the past, we all get it. We all get it.
Wrong term to use it.
No, but yeah, but you know what I mean? He's a great guy, and I'll always be in gratitude to him for how he helped me. So like I say, if people want help, I'm always there. But it's when they turn around and just don't listen at all. You think, well, what am I even helping you for? If you think you know better, go and do it. There's certain people very, very set in the ways. But hey ho. Right, let's take a look at the poll then, Billy, and see where people stand on this at the minute. What do you reckon?
I think people would rather stay, but I mean, I think people know that they would. I mean, everyone wants to stay, but I just don't think it's possible. So I'm going to be. I think it's going to be middle for diddle. I think it'll be somewhere down 52-48 routes.
Well, a new stadium, Billy, 60%.
Wow, I'm surprised about that.
And that's over 700 votes on it as well. So 60%. Well, it's now 50. No, it's gone back to 60. 60-40 is the split. 60 in favour of a new stadium, 40 in favour of staying at St James's Park. Now, that's exactly what we were talking about, Billy, earlier on, isn't it? We put it out there, and it's not half and half, but it's a very, very tight split. It's always going to be split opinions on a new stadium, because Arsenal took a while to get going in the Emirates, and you could say that the Emirates, the atmosphere still isn't right at the Emirates.
No,
and that's the thing. What we can't risk is that fantastic St James's atmosphere. If we lose that, will a new stadium have the same sort of, raucous noise?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Any of the new stadiums really don't have that kind of atmosphere of the old ones. The London Stadium's much the same.
Well, the London Stadium's just unbelievable. How far
stadium,
away
you
are.
Yeah, it's an athletic stadium. It's not a football stadium. But even clubs that have built in the past 20 years, King Power's got little atmosphere. The Rico, or CBS is now known. Again, another one. There's no atmosphere in them. I'd sooner say it's St James's, but
so if we build a new stadium, Billy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we're no way absolute architects here in any shape or form. But how would you, if you were to look at a new stadium, what kind of stadium creates that atmosphere? Because is it close to the pitch and steep stands, where you're overlooking the ground? We've seen a few of them in Spain, of course. Because I think if you're too far away from the pitch, that's it. Forget about it.
Yeah, you need to be closed in. And for instance, Upton Park was the most closed in ground you're ever going to see, and probably had the most hostile kind of ground to go to as an away fan or away team.
Yeah,
because it was so closed in. Whereas Molineux is the opposite, isn't it? Even though it's an old ground, it's too far from the pitch. I think you've got to be closed in. I think St James Park is to a certain extent. So I think that's got to be part of it. For me personally, if I was to vote, if we could have an extension somehow at St James Park, that's what I'd vote for. That's what I'd vote for.
If they can get the 65, would that mean they stay at St James's Park, in your opinion?
I think so, yes, for now. You might be kicking the can down the road, but for now, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then, look, this is something that's going to rumble on, and it takes a lot of time as well. So if you're going to get a new ground, or you're thinking about a new ground, you're going to spend millions on getting it up to 65k. That would then tell me that they're going to stay there for a good length of time.
Yeah.
At least 5 to 10 years if they're spending that kind of money before we even think about a new stadium somewhere. But it gives them a lot of time to plan it. But
this is it. It's dead money, isn't it? Because St James Park is on council land. We own the stadium, but it's on council land. You can't sell it on, can you? Really? Yeah. It's something that we'll have to sell back to the council, and we won't get anywhere near what we want for it.
Well, John makes a good point here, Billy. Great acoustics could help the atmosphere. Also for other users like concerts, go one up on Atlanta Mercedes Stadium on PIF-owned land.
Good idea.
But the problem is with land around Newcastle, it's very difficult to get certainly a piece of land big enough, Billy, for what we want to do.
Money talks, doesn't it? If PIF want to buy a piece of land that's big enough for it, they will, won't they?
Well, the council stuff, they'll just snap their hands off, won't they? Because it's all about money for the council.
Well, they've got to keep themselves kind of economically viable, haven't they, the council? So 100% that's what happens. So at some point, I would hope, and then you can build yourself a 75,000 seated stadium, which would be ideal. But that's it. If you're going to extend St James's Park, it won't be moving for 20 years.
Barbara says we could fill an 80,000 seater stadium every week. I don't think there's a problem with doing that. I think we would absolutely fill an 80,000 ground, but it's where we're going to get that 80,000 ground. It's been a talking point since the takeover, hasn't it? Everybody has said, is that the main thing with PIF? Is it getting a new stadium? Is it growing? Or is it redevelopment of St James's Park? And I think this will rumble on for quite some time. I know that they've kind of wanted to get get up to the level, I think, of 65. They've mentioned that numerous times that I think they've already looked at that, Billy, and found a way to do that. But now they're in the mindset of, do we go to 65 and spend that money, or do we look for a new stadium? Because a new stadium is going to be very tough to find. And like we've just seen in that poll, Billy, it pulls at the heartstrings.
We've missed out on a few sites, haven't we? Let's be honest. If the takeover had happened the year before, we could have probably had the the stuff down to the Sage and all that stuff that was being knocked down, wasn't it? So it's now a housing estate. It was going to be a housing estate.
Yeah.
So if they've kind of missed out, but I want to stay in St James's Park. It's too many memories there.
Yeah,
there is. There.
Yeah, it's like, if that ever got demolished. I mean, I used to. There's a couple of times I did some research on old grounds and watched the main road one when Manchester City moved, and I watched the fans going into Main Road for a final time, and they were allowed to kick a ball on the pitch, and they were allowed to take the seat. If they were a season ticket holder, they could take the seat away with them, take some tools in and unscrew it and everything like that. And then they did further videos of the demolition and the amount of fans that were standing in the streets around Main Road, because it was very much in a housing estate, Main Road. People don't really remember that, but it was. Yeah, it was. And they looked, they looked devastated. And some of the fans were in tears when they were in the ground saying a goodbye. And it seems weird that it's just it's a football ground, but it's their football ground.
But St James's Park's different from all those grounds that have been and gone before. This is a city centre ground on the top of the hill. It's a historically famous ground. It's famous the world over. So for me, I'd want to extend it. Whether that can be done or not, we'll see. But with this kind of fiddling and farting around the East Stand tells me that's all done for reasons of this extension thing. I've got to say.
Lewis Smiley fan with another super chat saying, check out Hunter's Moor. Trust me. Ryan says, question, Paul, I know my comments don't pop up much, but with the new stadium, we can compete at St James's. The only way to compete will be ticket prices go through the roof. You're talking $2,000 a year.
Yeah, that's why we need more seats, isn't it? That's why we need more people in.
I mean, look, the Emirates prices are ridiculous. I mean, if you've seen the season tickets for like Chelsea and Tottenham, well, that's obviously London, and we're very, very much different to anything that goes on down there. But as we've been told many, many times before, Simon says an extra 13,000 seats is about 25 million a season in extra revenue.
There you go.
So it does boost the revenue. I've supported Newcastle since the 70s. We need to move forward. Haven't had much luck at St James's since the 50s. Love the ground, but have to go with the times. That's a good point, that. We haven't exactly won much at St James's in the last 50 years, or since the 50s. Had 20k for the friendlies and everyone warns at prices. Be surprised if it got to 80k. Friendlies are different. Very, very different. If you're getting a Premier League game at St James's and you've got the chance of putting 70 to 80,000 people in a ground, it would be full. And I think all Newcastle fans know that.
There's a waiting list for tickets.
It's massive
now. So how many people putting the ballots week in, week out don't get tickets?
It's huge. It's huge. But it's an interesting talking point that will probably go on for donkeys, because the thing is, if the women get out of the Championship and into the Super League, they have to move because they can't play on a fake surface. They can't play on the 4G stuff. It has to be grass.
Yeah.
So, there's the women's team to think about as well. And I know the Gateshead been mentioned before, but I think if they were going to do that, they probably would have done it when Gateshead had all the problems last season about getting a promotion and stuff. So unless they're talking with them, I don't know. We don't know what goes on, but it's a hell of a talking point. But definitely will rumble on and rumble on. But that is it for tonight, folks. Thank you very, very much. Over 1,600 of you over both platforms again. Very, very interesting conversations tonight. So thank you for taking part in those. Thank you for your super chats and memberships, of course, as well. Coming up, well, we've got the England games. If you want to listen to commentary on the England games and watch them with us, you are very, very welcome. They will be going up soon. And obviously, all the Newcastle United news, as we get it, we'll be putting shows together for you. Putting some interesting ones together as well, looking at teams from the past and things like that. So keep an eye out for them. But we will still have content during this international break, that is for certain. But we will see how England do in the Nations League with our three internationals that we've got there. Of course, Nick Pope, Anthony Gordon, and Tino Livramento. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening, and we'll see you again very soon. But in the meantime, it's good night from us.
Well, lads and lasses.
Come back and check on Sabri.